What is your corrective action plan in your facility? I can tell you that there have been times that my facility has not performed like I wanted it to, and we've had to come up with a very, very specific way that we handle things in the event that things are not going according to plan with a specific staff member. The first thing we must do in all cases, and you've heard me talk about this before, is we must gain agreement. We must set the standard in front of the staff member, and we must say, hey, this is what I expect. And then we ask them, can you agree to this? Now, if they say no, we don't just instantly lock up. We don't instantly say, that's it, you're out of here. We have a discussion about it, and we try to understand, is it because our standard is unreasonable? Or is it because this employee does not agree with it? Is it because this employee is not a good fit? Is it because we've caused harm or damage to the reputation with this employee? So step number one is gain agreement. Step number two is, if we are not meeting that performance standard, we need to ask why. Okay? We don't just simply go and say, you're not hitting the standard. I can't believe this. This is not right. We say, hey, Bob, we're not hitting the standard. You and I agreed to this standard. Can you help me understand why you're not hitting that standard? And then you have to be quiet. Listen to me very carefully. You do not give them the excuses of why they're not hitting the standard. Do you know how many shop owners I've heard walk in and say, Bob, you're not hitting the standard, and I know we didn't get those parts here, and I know it was this, and I know it was that. That is a guaranteed way that you do not get accurate answers. You've got to be quiet and let that awkward, uncomfortable silence happen right up until Bob gives you an answer. Okay? So Bob begins to tell you what the answer is, and now we have to look at that and we have to analyze that. If it is another staff member, we go right to that other staff member with Bob and we discuss it with that other staff member right now, right in the heat of the moment. I know that can be a little bit of a controversial subject, but I have found it is extremely powerful that if we go and talk about these things with two staff members, oftentimes there is a misunderstanding, or you'll find that Bob was using that as an excuse, and there was a reason that that other staff member did what they did. So by putting that out to light, it removes an excuse for Bob. Now, look, there are reasonable and rational answers that say, hey, there's a reason I'm not hitting this number. There's a reason I'm not hitting the target, the expectation. But a lot of times, what I hear is not reasonable. It's an excuse. And so we need to take every tool in the toolbox to eliminate the opportunity to have an excuse. And then we coach to that, okay? So we talk through the issue. We talk about, hey, what are some ways that we can solve this? How can I help you solve this problem? I'm going to pull bricks out of the wall, as Cecil says. I'm going to stack the deck. I'm going to have every tool at my disposal. And a lot of owners will tell you, oh, it's not my job to solve the tech's problems. Yes, it absolutely is. 90% of the production problems that I've encountered talking to friends that own shops and in my own shop have been solely the result of the front counter and owner choices. Okay? It's parts, it's dispatch, it's the way that we ask our techs to go, hey, just pull this car in and check it real quick. It's unaccounted time, right? Like, a lot of this stuff is on us. And so by asking questions and then solving these problems, we're doing things that are going to make our system more productive, more efficient, more profitable anyway. Now, here's the deal. If we still have a problem, we've set a standard, and I know, look, I'm talking about standards like it's just in production. It's not just in production. Your handbook should set your standard, right? You don't abuse client vehicles. You don't use profanity. You don't, whatever it is. I don't care what standard you're setting. The point is, it needs to be on paper, in writing, what my standard is. And then if it's not being hit, we have to discuss it. We have to put it into light and talk about it. Now, look, if we've had some of these coaching sessions and we've complimented good performance, we've removed the brick in the wall, everything we can to make this standard achievable, and we're still not hitting it, and we know the standard's reasonable, okay? Like, I don't want to hear nobody talking about my tech should be able to hit 50 hours a day. That's not a reasonable standard, okay? I'm talking about reasonable standards that we know are reasonable, and we're still not hitting it. Now we move into the repercussion phase of the process. And so step number 1 is a verbal warning. Bob, bud, hey, listen, I want to remind you of our corrective action program. And I want to remind you that when I give you a verbal warning, it is the first step in the process of correction. Bob, do you know what our corrective action program is? Okay. All right, good deal. So I want you to know this is your formal first verbal warning. Now, in our shop, every single employee has a folder in the company Google Drive that the manager, myself, and my wife have access to. In there is a document which includes every single corrective action notice. And so I write in here, gave Bob a formal verbal warning on this day at this time. Here's what I said, and here's why I gave him that warning, and a brief summary of what happened. Now, I tell Bob when I give him his verbal warning, hey, Bob, listen, the next time this comes up, I've got to give you a written warning, okay? And so we either need to make sure we're hitting the standard, or we need to determine what's going on here. We need to have a hard discussion. If you got something to say, brother, you're good. Go ahead and say it. But the next time it happens is we give them a written warning. Now, at the third written warning, they're terminated. And each time I'm trying to coach and counsel and lift up and say, hey, let's fix this, let's fix this, let's fix this. But if I do not see improvement, nah, man. You see, here's the deal. Tim Kite always said that you promote what you permit. And if you permit bad behavior, you're promoting bad behavior. If you permit poor performance, you're promoting poor performance. And I have heard from more than one team that the team has almost been destroyed by an owner who let a toxic or negative individual stay on the team when they should have sent them down the road. God knows I am guilty of it. And you'll say, oh, but they're a good performer. They're this, they're that. No, you're killing your culture. You're killing your future gains. It's like being in the stock market and selling short. Come on now. You know you're not going to make anything. You should have just held it. See what happens down the road. The key here is that we have to coach our people, we have to guide our people, we have to lead our people. The reality of this is we are leaders. We have an obligation to our people, and if the business does not perform like we want it to, there is only one person to blame, and that is the owner. And that is not lost on me. My business is not performing so hot these days. I'm not happy with where we're at, and it's on me, solely on me. So, it's just my opinion, y'all. Y'all have a good day.